UvaldeRadio.net, time for another People of Uvalde segment. I'm Robert McGill, and really excited to talk to our next guest. It's been a while since we've had her on the air in any capacity, but we see this lady around town and beyond doing all kinds of great goodwill for Uvalde and the surrounding areas. Please welcome on the phone Miss Jan McCaleb Elliott.
Hey, Robert. Thank you. It's nice to be with you.
It's exciting to talk to you. You are, you're no stranger to radio, so this will be like, riding a bike for you, right?
Absolutely. I miss being on the radio. It's fun.
I know we talk about it and joke about it, but we need to find some way to get you on the air here at UvaldeRadio.net. We need more local talent to be, and we know that you're absolutely capable of hamming it up. We'll talk about your illustrious radio career in a minute, but I do want to just say, first of all, thank you for taking some time. I know you're a really busy lady to get on the air with us, but we're going to try to do this in 3 segments. I want to talk about the history of Jan Elliott in Uvalde, your backstory. Also, auditions for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang are this weekend for the big production coming up at the Uvalde Grand Opera House, which I understand you are directing. That'll be great. And of course, also your involvement in the Uvalde Good Eggs Enterprises. And then you guys always have a lot of cool stuff coming up, especially helping out Uvalde's youth, the arts and whatnot. But you have a really cool thing coming up for the Sons of the Pioneers, also at the Opera House. So that's kind of where we're going to take this thing. So hope everybody just soaks up this information and gets involved and goes to see a show that you're a part of. Jan, let's start off with your history. Most people in town know you, and they know you do a lot of great things in town. But for those who maybe haven't heard, let's go ahead and get your backstory.
I'm a native Abilenian. I almost said Uvalde. Native Abilenian. My husband and I live.
I have to say Abilenian. First time I've heard that word. That's a cool word.
It is a cool word. Yeah. And people from Abilene are pretty cool. I have to say. And we transplant well. So we started out in good soil, and it is still West Texas. So I don't feel displaced at all down here. The first time we moved, Tex and I moved here was in 1976 when he was running his family's ranch in Catarina. Then we were moved back to the New Mexico ranch for several years, and in 87 we moved back here and have been here ever since. 5 of our 6 children graduated from Uvalde High School, so, once you have kids that start grade school and go all the way through high school, it's your home. That's how it works. And we've had wonderful times here and always tried to stay involved at church and at the Opera House and in civic opportunities that were available. So it's been a great place to live and love and laugh. Hey, it's a good place.
Now, Tex, your husband passed away years ago, but you
in 13,
and you have been holding it down, and you are one of the most acclaimed Texas CattleWomen, around. I mean, let's just be honest. Award-winning Texas CattleWoman. So let's go ahead and talk.
That is true.
Talk professionally about what it is that you still do on in the day in, day outs.
I'm still actively ranching. I have a place in Burnett County that, because one of our sons lives in Burnett County and he's able to manage it for me. It was a little sad for me when Tex was ready to retire. I went, I don't not want to be without cattle. And so Stephen, that's our baby son, who was born in Uvalde. He and Ben were born here, and he continues to help me manage that property and continue to raise cattle, which we really love. We love the way of life, and we love that our kids and our grandkids are still very involved with the ranches in New Mexico as well as on their own, wherever they live. It kind of keeps you grounded, when you have to depend on God's grace and the weather to substantially take care of livestock and land and resources. It's grounding, I think, for me. It's humbling and gives you a grateful heart. So that's the basis of everything, in my opinion.
And now in the news, everybody knows that there have been some recent hikes in pricing as far as beef goes. We've been going through the last couple of years have just kind of been insane. You have weathered many storms, I'm sure, as a rancher and CattleWoman. If you don't mind, reflect a little bit and let's talk about some of those highs and lows that you went through, and any kind of remarkable stories or eras that you might want to just kind of opine about or reflect upon.
One of the things that we knew early, and I think from both of our backgrounds, my family were farmers, and of course that's even, and I mean dry land farmers in West Texas. So the droughts, just the weather. In fact, when I was growing up, I mean, tornadoes could destroy a crop in 5 seconds. So I think what we learned, Tex and I both, was never to depend on anything. Always be prepared to, don't buy things you don't need. Don't borrow money. Except for equipment or cattle or something like that. But, I mean, just do without. Enjoy what you got. And so I think the highs and lows were easier for us because we didn't have money that we owed or people that we owed, which I think just tears you apart. I mean, just eats you up. And so I think that was one of the great things for us is that we didn't, we didn't buy a new car unless the other one was, all in 10 pieces on the ground. And we didn't do silly things that we didn't have money to do. And I don't know. I think for me, if I had to kind of sum it up, and the other thing about right now in the cattle business is the cattle prices, are not getting to the producer. They're all those middlemen, and we as an industry are having to fight that on a daily basis. That the feeders, the big corporations, which agriculture is being eaten up by corporations. Families are having to sell because they can't pay the inheritance tax, and there's generations of kids who don't want to do that kind of work. It's sun up to sundown, and you're your own boss, and you don't have days off, and there's not a retirement fund.
Yeah, they all want to be TikTokers nowadays. Nobody wants to work. They all want to be TikTokers nowadays.
Yes, absolutely. So that's another grateful point for us is that our children value that and know that they can't depend on anything but themselves to manage and to do their very best, but they do love the land and the livestock, and they see the value in it. So I guess when you have to throw politics into it, and when you have to throw egos of corporate organizations and even industry organizations, I mean, some of them have let us down too. And then, every few years you have to deal with a whole new administration. Yeah. That you have to teach or try to say, wait a minute, we were ahead of the game, 20 years ago. Can we go back to? And it's cyclical. It's heartbreaking in some things, and you have to just erase all that and look at your land and your livestock and your family and say, what is the best for us? Everything else is temporary, and we are permanent.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
They're not making any more land. They're not making better situations for you. So how are you going to manage? So it leads to a lot of entrepreneurial efforts, and it gets your children and your grandchildren involved in new and better ways of management and of, from crop rotation to cattle rotations and pastures, things that are well known. Wow. And you just have to make a little more effort and make that your priority.
Now, are you diversifying in any way? Are you doing anything outside of farming and ranching? Maybe even is that something you would do, or maybe your kids or grandkids have done? Maybe even getting into tech or something completely different.
Our second son worked for. He was IT for years. He finally retired from corporate JCPenney. So we do have a high-techy guy, and his wife also. She was with RealPay. She was the director of that for years and years and years. And all of our kids, Tex encouraged all of them to go into something other than ranching. So do work. He said, I want you to be in ranch. That's great, but we don't know where it's going. We don't know what's going to happen. So be prepared to do something else. Get an education where you can do other things.
I love that. It's a good parenting. Have a backup plan. Yeah. Have a backup plan.
Just have it. And he was taught the same thing. His granddaddy Tex didn't even want to go to college. He said, I don't want to go. He just wanted to be with his grandfather. And his grandfather said, no, you need a college education or at least a career or some other thing, an opportunity. So they all, and most of them, in fact, I think every one of them went into corporate eventually, even some corporate agriculture, and man, they couldn't get out fast enough. They were so ready. They didn't care. They didn't care if they made any money. They didn't care if they had a house. They didn't care about anything. They just wanted out of that. And even when they knew I'm not going to make a dime in comparison to what I can make in corporate, even agriculture, but they were in corporate recreation, corporate tourism. I mean, there were several others. One of our daughters is a historical architect, and our other daughter is by degree of photographer and graphic artist. And so we have a diverse group of people, which makes it easy for us to manage our own companies.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to outsource for that.
Yeah, when you have somebody that can do a little bit of everything, that is fantastic. Yes. Very cool.
Absolutely.
Definitely some valuable keys on how to, again, survive the highs and the lows. Now, let's talk about a recent high. As I recall, last year you were awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award with the Texas CattleWomen Association. First of all, let's talk about the organization, and then let's talk about, receiving the award.
The organization, I don't even know if auxiliary is a word anybody uses anymore, but major organizations that, of course, during my lifetime have always been men organizations. And I'm fine with that. I love that. I'm a very big supporter of men. And in leadership, I am extremely supportive of men in leadership. And what happened, I guess, years ago, were the women realized that the men were not going to be able to go out and promote beef, and so they organized. So Texas CattleWomen actually was originally cowbells. Huh. They were called cowbells, and the only state in the union that still uses are considered cowbells is New Mexico. And that's the first place I joined CattleWomen, was in New Mexico in 1971. And we have fundraisers, and at that time we were raising money to put kids into ag schools like New Mexico State, Texas Tech, Texas A&M, for their college educations. We'd raise money and give them scholarships. And we also did, beef meals at all big functions and festivals, and enjoyed being part of that scene for many years. So our only job really is to promote beef and agriculture and the people, the producers who are involved directly with that industry. And so every area, it used to be little towns, would have a local that was an affiliate of Texas CattleWomen. Mm-hmm. And so South Texas CattleWomen is the largest CattleWomen's organization, local, in Texas, and we are 22 counties strong. Wow. We usually have about 125 women. We meet monthly, September through May. We have an annual event, Spikes and Spurs, at the Briscoe Western Art Museum in San Antonio. It's a dinner and a dance, and everybody can buy tickets right now on Eventbrite. It's always Mother's Day weekend, and we raise money I stopped years ago encouraging the scholarship part because those are available. I encourage that if we are promoting beef, we need to put beef in people's mouths. So we adopted 3 South Texas children's homes, and we give each of them $10,000 worth of beef per year.
Awesome.
For their nutrition programs. And the one at Big Spring above Lakey, we've tracked over the years, and the kids' scores are better, their health is better, their eyes are better, their physical energy, from coaches to teachers. Like I said, the children that have had a steady diet of beef over the last 3 years, they track them in 3-year periods for the kids that stay that long. And so we know that the Zip zinc, iron and protein. I'm sorry, we have a calf that is our mascot, and his name's Zip. And so zinc, iron, and protein in beef is mandatory for good health. And so we felt like between that and feeding wounded warriors, we have developed that as our mission. Wow. That the way we promote beef is actually feeding people. And so it's worked well for us. I am president of South Texas CattleWomen and honored to be so. Still, in the Lifetime Achievement, I jokingly and this is literally all I'm going to say about it. I almost didn't go to the ceremony. I thought, okay, the meetings are over. I probably need to get back on the road. Then I ran into somebody and thought, well, that's rude. Somebody's going to be honored. I need to at least be there and clap, 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 and congratulations. So I went and sat kind of up towards the front, and this is what happens when you get to be my age. I turned around, I kind of looked around the room, and I thought, well, what old lady is going to get this year? It was just one of those things. You kind of age to a point that they have to do something. And so I was not at all expecting. It was a huge surprise, and my family and a lot of my CattleWomen had been in the same hotel with me for 3 days. I had not seen any of them, and they all said, oh, my gosh, you walked right by me. Well, 2 of my sons and one of my grandsons said, Mom, you literally brushed the back of my jacket walking through the lobby. And I went,
wow.
What? Well, I wasn't expecting them there, so I was not expecting it at all. And it's just a cumulative thing, and I appreciate it very much.
Well, it must have been a really well-kept secret. I mean, that is fantastic.
It was.
And congratulations. I mean, how cool is that? Well, again, we've got Jan Elliott on the phone, the lady about town, always doing some amazing work here locally and beyond. So, man, really, really cool synopsis of your story. So I know there's much more we could get into, but let's talk about what you're here to promote as well, too, okay? So first things first, this weekend, auditions for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It's so hard to say without, potentially saying something bad.
Yeah.
But auditions at the Opera House. Let's talk about that. What's going on there?
This will be a huge production for Uvalde. I think the last thing I directed of this scope, it's certainly not the last thing I directed, but of this scope was Annie in '89.
Wow.
Because Annie had been revived on Broadway several years before that. And when you're doing an active play, it's, number one, the rights are higher, and number two, there's professional groups all around the country touring.
Yeah.
And so you have to be really careful. But Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was a 1968 movie. It never was a play. It was only written as a play in 2000. And the Sherman brothers, who had written the music, were still alive. Everything else is British. The music writers and lyricists are Americans. So they were still alive, and I think they wrote 6 new songs for the play. So the play is a little bit different, but it's still just a wonderful fantasy, children, family, crazy, villains and heroes, one of those wonderful shows.
Yeah.
And it's just magic. It really is. The lead song is, of course, known to lots of people, even if they don't even know the movie or the play.
Yeah.
But it's just a wonderful show, but it is way heavy on machinery. Mm-hmm. And flying cars and magic building things. I don't want to go to all of it. Our word will be for this whole thing from March until August will be phantasmagorical. You're going to see that word all over Uvalde, and we're going to involve school children. We're going to involve groups. It's going to be incredible. But it's only fun if everybody gets involved. That's right. What's fun. So our auditions will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And the times, you probably have them right there in front of you. And I'm in a car, and I don't.
I don't have them in front of me, but you keep talking, and I'll find them, okay?
Yes. I'm talking on my phone, and it's on my phone. So, I'm afraid to change position of my phone right now.
Well, now this is going to be a local production, so let's go. You talked about kind of the machinery and the sets.
Matt Weissel and his wife Caitlin are really working on that part of it. Mm-hmm. There is an opportunity to literally rent all of the magic if we want to do that.
Right.
Drive to Michigan and pick it up, which I would love to do. But we're going to try to see if it's possible to work that out here at home. And number one, I think because it would involve so many people and so many different talents, not just people who can sing and dance on stage, but people who have wonderful brains and ingenuity and entrepreneurial skills to bring that to life on our stage. Our problem with our theater is that we don't have a back door. We don't have a big wide place to enter, and we have no wings on our stage to store things. So creating this type of a show, getting it in and out of the Opera House, is going to be a chore.
Right.
And we're working on that daily. So the people who have those brains are being sought, of course.
Well, very good. So if anybody's listening that has those types of talents or skills, be sure and contact. Okay, I found the information about the auditions. Friday, March 4th, 4 to 8 p.m., Saturday, March 5th, 10 to 3, Sunday, March 6th, 3 to 7, and then on Monday, March 7th, 6 to 9 p.m. Again, that's auditions for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, directed by Jan Elliott at the Uvalde Grand Opera House. So I guess you're going to be rehearsing throughout the spring and summer, and then you've got production dates planned for August 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. So going to be a really cool thing. So let's talk about, it says on the flyer, musical direction by Camille Sanders Jeffcoat. Give us your thoughts on Camille. We all love her, right?
Oh, yes. She's amazing, and we've literally been working on this since last August, trying to figure out dates and times and places and how to move all of the talent around that we have in town without interfering with other things that we're playing. We really worked hard at that to where we wouldn't be, cramming everything that happens in one weekend, which often happens around here. Yeah. And so we've studied and worked with and gathered people. It'll be a year. Over a year by the time we do the actual production. And it takes, if you do it correctly, it takes a lot of time and a lot of planning. And Camille has been on it from day one. And a lot of the first few months will be music and choreography, because that all needs to be done before we ever get on a stage. Mm-hmm. It's too difficult to do that in the same process of blocking the play and putting scenes together. And of course, we have to be very thoughtful about the children in the play, that their rehearsals are early, so sometimes we don't get all of the show together until the very last 2 months because of time factor. Yeah. And then the adults who work in the day. I mean, community theater is, very thoughtful of that, or should be. I mean, and we certainly will try to do that. I think there are a lot of people that have the singing talent and the ability to do this and who have never trusted themselves. And I don't think all directors do this, but I have closed auditions, so it's just you and me and Camille. Basically, it's not going to be, nobody's going to be watching. You just need to come with your best self and stretch it. Be a character, not you on the stage. It's someone else. But we'll be very thoughtful of especially people who are new, because theater is something that a lot of people would love to do. They're a little frightened of it. Or they say, I don't like people looking at me. Well, then you're in trouble. But that can't be your excuse. If you have the talent and the ability and the desire, give it a shot. This is a huge cast. There's lots of ensemble parts, especially for singers, and it'll be really fun.
I was actually going to ask, as far as the auditions go, how many are we looking for? Are there some key roles that need to be filled? I'm sure that you've got maybe like a core set of players that, are kind of the usual suspects as far as these productions go locally. How much of that have you kind of already fleshed out in your head? I'm sure that in the back of your brain, you've kind of got an idea of a core group that will be involved.
Well, there's about 10 that we have to have. I mean, they're major characters. Uh-huh. It is a heavy male cast, which I usually...
Heavy male, I fit right in.
And there you go. And because it's more difficult usually for the men to take the time. But there's some good 2 major children, but there's a whole group of children, because one of the characters is the kid catcher. And that's a great part for somebody who just would love to be evil. And there's a baron and a baroness, and it's comedy. I mean, it's comedy. And they're pretty comical, but they're on the evil side of the balance. And then there's Mr. Potts, Caractacus Potts, and of course he's the star male, and his children who are Jeremy and Jemima, and they're supposed to be twins. So we'll be trying to make that work. We'll see how it happens. And then there's a grandpa, his Grandpa Potts, and so those are some of the major characters, and we'll look forward to seeing people audition for those roles.
Now, as far as the auditions go, should they bring like a prepared, a solo of music, or should they have a memorized little script, or what are the auditions? What are you expecting at the auditions? Are they going to read from the materials that you guys already have?
They will be reading from our materials, and it's called a cold read, and the reason is it tells us immediately how skilled you are with a script. Cold reads are not necessarily all that will happen, but coming prepared with something, that's an easy deal. You can practice that for days. Uh-huh. But a cold read is a little more difficult in one sense. But it also tells us about the imagination of the person. If we say, here's the scenario of this scene, and here are your lines, and they have to go with it, and we give them time to look at it, and then we go with, and again, you're there, just the three of us, and there may be 4 or 5, but it's other people involved in the production. But there's not an audience of other people trying out for the same parts, what I'm trying to tell everybody. And you can come with a music preparation. Yes, that'll be fine. Camille may have more to say about that, too, but I like also, and we may ask for this, you can come prepared with whatever music you want. We may do some a cappella things also, maybe even the three of us, just to see where we all are. Projection, for me, I'm in a little different situation than Camille, although projection is her deal, too. We will not be using microphones on this show.
Okay.
Body mics, it's a pain. I'm not fooling with it, especially with children. It's a nightmare. So if you don't have a voice that can carry to the back of the auditorium, it will probably be very, very difficult for you. But I do know that every child and every adult has an outdoor voice because I taught and I know those voices. You can't shut it up when you want them to.
Right.
And every mother alive knows that every child has that voice, and we need to hear that voice on the stage.
Awesome.
We need to projection is just very, very important, almost as important as skill at this point, because if the person in the balcony cannot understand your lines or hear your lines or hear your song, there's no reason for them to be there.
Right.
It's a waste of money. So stage presence is very important, not to get the role, because we can teach presence, but a lot of it is natural. So being able to hear you and you be looking at the audience is key. That's a great hint for anybody that's going to try out. Man, woman, child, doesn't matter.
I like your style already. So it's been a while since you've directed here locally. Go ahead and give me a brief history of your your directorial history. You mentioned what did you say, Annie back in the
Annie? Yeah, that was one of way back. I think because I was still acting in a lot of plays, and we used to bring in outside directors. I was also in Steel Magnolias, and Joe Stevens, who was Director of the Year in the state of Texas for community theater, and was also a working actor himself, lived in Austin. He came a lot to direct plays. The man who ran Del Rio Theater, community theater, directed for us several times. So there really wasn't a need to direct for many, many years. And then I actually started directing when I started being involved with UPOP, which is Youth Players on the Plaza.
Right.
And I would love to get back to doing that. That is something I really, really love, working with children. And the So I think that was probably the first. Well, I did some smaller things. We had a melodrama troupe called The Players, which I think we're going to revive. And we did lots of fun, small plays for all over town and all over the area. And I also had a little group of ladies, and we did Shakespeare's Ladies, which was an awesome, and I probably need to bring that back too. It's a great play. So mainly got started again in directing with UPOP, and that would be, every summer. And I taught summer school too, theater arts, which you're directing there. And then all of our activities with the Good Eggs.
Yeah, lots of shows.
We kind of passed the director thing around. I mean, I think I'm probably, if there's a lead and whatever, somebody. It just depends on what the show is. We've all, over the years, grown into being able to handle it if one or the other isn't there. But and there's several other shows, and right now I'm blanking out on them.
Well, I think this is a good spot to segue into the Good Eggs. So, as a recap real quick, auditions for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang are this weekend, Friday, March 4th, 4 to 8, Saturday, March 5th, 10 to 3, Sunday, March 6th, 3 to 7, and then Monday, March 7th, 6 to 9 p.m. If you'd like more information, call the Opera House at 830-278-4184, online, uvaldeoperahouse.org, and keep in mind production dates are August 11th through 14th, which means you'll be rehearsing throughout the spring and early summer. All right, so again, we got Jan Elliott on the phone. Man, I know we're running a little long, but we got to talk about this. Uvalde Good Eggs Enterprises, you guys have do some great work, especially supporting the arts in the area, and you guys have a cool event coming up, among other things. So let's get into Uvalde Good Eggs. Give us a little history on what they are and what's coming up.
We're just a group of friends that decided one day, wait a minute, why are we doing all of this every year, all the time, for other organizations or for any organization, and raising money? We don't even know exactly where all that money's going. We never asked. We just said, oh, sure, we love it, we'll do it. And I said, okay. I went to my lawyers and said, how do we become a company, and then we control where the money goes? And of course, then after you make such a robust decision, like it's so, philanthropical. Is that a word? That's not right. And what are we making money for? And we realized there were no fine arts scholarships for kids who are in music or art or interested in architecture or acting. Anyway, the creative arts, and we thought, well, there's a way, and we had to define that. Everything you dream of, you have to define. So anyone in the arts is able to apply for our fine arts scholarship, and it's for Uvalde County students, and we followed some kids all the way through college. And even into grad school. One of our recipients is a music minister. A couple of them have gone into professional acting. Some of them are working on arts education. They'll either teach orchestra or band or choir, drama, speech. So it varies across the board, but we've consistently had at least one, if not three at a time in college. And we followed most of them all the way through. And it's been very gratifying. So we became a nonprofit because of this, when we realized that people enjoyed what we were doing and they were willing to help us raise the money, and Uvalde's so great about that. So that's where that all began and what we are still doing. And we're bringing the Sons of the Pioneers here. There's a huge connection with Roy Rogers to this area, and the reason is because of Dale Evans, his wife, who was a native Uvaldean. And the now connection is that his son, Dusty, Roy Rogers Jr., is singing with the Sons of the Pioneers.
Wow, that's so cool.
He does not like to be centered out at all. He is one of the Sons of the Pioneers. But one of the reasons we got them here is because I had tried for years to get Dusty here. And when he finally closed down in Branson, I finally found out that he had joined the Sons of the Pioneers, and that was only in 2018. So he hasn't been with them long, but it's very cool that his dad started this organization with his two friends in 1934, and now Dusty's singing with them. And he literally is, there's no star, never has been a star of the Sons of the Pioneers, but his love for this music and him willing to keep this wonderful Western music alive, along with the other 6 guys who are awesome, absolutely beautiful human beings that everybody's going to love and everybody will be able to meet. They're just normal guys who love this music. It's the Western music of our nation. They are international, legendary stars. They travel the world every year, carrying the story of the Old West, the trail drives, the campfire songs. There's no country music in this. It is all Western, and it's all traditional, and it's all beautiful because they have gorgeous voices. They sound just like the original Sons of the Pioneers. This group is 87 years old.
Wow.
And are not stopping. And they're wonderful. The trail boss right now is Tommy Nally, and he's a great guy. He lives in Branson. One of the guys graduated from Texas Tech. He lives in Marshall, Texas. I mean, they're just regular guys, and they just happen to have a talent for this music. So I think everybody's going to love them. And we're also going to have a display at the library of memorabilia of the Sons of the Pioneers, Roy and Dale. And then if you have any memorabilia, especially of the Sons of the Pioneers, an old record, old fan club newsletter, any of that, please let some of us know, because we're going to have displays of these things, and when you get there, they will sign anything you have, and they're really special people. But it's just going to be a great night. It's kind of like Old Home Week, because South Texas had a real relationship with this group and has had for, 80 years.
Well, I mean, that's just amazing. And he gets to come back and see what the home of his mom?
Yeah, well, actually, the fun part of the story is that he is Roy's only son. Uh-huh. Biological son, but his mom died shortly after birth. So Dale for him is his mom.
Wow.
And when you when he meets you, and of course I met him in Branson first, and he said, "Little lady, where are you from?" One of those kind of deal. And I said, "Uvalde, Texas." And he went, "Oh my gosh!" And he called his whole family over, and he said, "She's from Mom's hometown." Wow. I mean, he knew immediately. He was engaged on it. Couldn't wait to talk to me, and so he's all about being here and meeting everybody. But the whole bunch has a connection because of Roy, and the history of this group. So all of them are excited about coming, and we've been talking and meeting and texting and emailing since September at least, and there's all sorts of other stories that you'll hear at the concert itself that are really emotional and exciting and patriotic and wonderful. So it'll be a wonderful time for people who love our country and our music, and we look forward to seeing everybody there.
Well, it sounds like just kind of a must-see, once in a lifetime opportunity. So again, that is going to be on Saturday, April 2nd. Uvalde Good Eggs bringing the Sons of the Pioneers to the Uvalde Grand Opera House. I imagine tickets are going pretty fast already. So
they are. It's not been a surprise to me, but for the younger generation who is at the Opera House now, they are just overwhelmed and loving it. They are having the best time, and especially what people are saying when they call. They're going, "Oh, I saw him when I was a young girl at the rodeo in San Antonio," or just the great stories. And so everybody's getting excited about it. It's going to be a fun night.
Very good. Man, there's so much going on, Jan. Thank you so much for carving out some time to get us caught up on what you've got going on, and there is plenty of it. I know the Good Eggs also typically will put on a Christmas show and some other stuff. Is there anything else coming down the pike, in the months to come and beyond that you want to go ahead and tease, I guess, while you're here?
Well, if this show raises enough money for our scholarships and to continue and even add kids to the scholarships, then we probably won't do anything again until next Christmas. We may bring other people in. We try to bring family shows to the Opera House, and to promote the Opera House for one thing, and to promote Uvalde for another, and hopefully make a little money for our scholarships. But right now, there's nothing else planned. Kind of hinging on this one to make us enough money, and of course we will be accepting donations even for this. There's also an opportunity to win a custom-made guitar. It literally, my son-in-law is a luthier, and he's making a guitar for this performance only for the Sons of the Pioneers to sign, and then you'll be given a chance for a drawing to win this guitar.
Oh my gosh,
I just found way to make money.
I just found it on Facebook. Tatum handcrafted guitars. Looks like these things are beautiful. So yeah, that sounds like a really cool opportunity.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be great. Fun times.
Well, man, thank you so much for all this great information. And, man, thanks so much for everything you do in town. And congratulations on your recent awards. I know you've also received awards on behalf of Main Street Uvalde and other places. I mean, what you do around here is absolutely appreciated. And we thank you so much for being a part of our wonderful community. Jan Elliott, is there anything else? I know you got a million things going on. Anything else we need to get into before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, I'm loving sitting out in this sunshine today. Aren't we blessed to have this gorgeous sunshine? We're blessed to be in Texas. We're blessed to be in Uvalde, and we're blessed to have people like you who love to promote Uvalde. So come on, Uvalde. Let's show them what we're made of and give all these people coming in and all the things happening a good old Uvalde welcome. When they get here, they love us. They really want to stay. So thanks to everyone else out there for making it such a wonderful place to live.
Well, thank you for your time today. Every time I talk to you, I mean, it's inspired every single time. So thanks again for your time. That's going to wrap it up here. People of Uvalde, this time with Jan McCaleb Elliott. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it. Have a great day.
We'll see you at the Opera House. This is UvaldeRadio.net.